Hey, good people, how you doing? David Taub here, co-creator of NextLevelGuitar.com. Hope all's going well, and I hope your guitar and musical journey is going famously. And today we're going to look at the pros and cons of home recording versus pro studio recording. And I hope that this video helps you in your choice for your project, whether you want to record at home or go into a professional studio. I think keep in mind that you can achieve great results with either one. And I find this topic so interesting because we probably wouldn't even be having these conversations or these types of videos 10 or 15 years ago because it just wasn't that possible. The technology for home recording just wasn't there yet. But I'll tell you, people all over the world today are producing great sounding music in their homes, and digital recording, the technology has gotten so good so fast, and it just continues to just explode at just skyrocketing pace. And the way we experience music is totally different now. So everything has changed, and it has brought about these, not just these technological advances in home recording, but it's given us these options. And there's the downside of that is that, it has forced a lot of these pro studios to close its doors and close down. Just the business just isn't there like it was because people are recording so much at home. If you get a second, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribing to the channel, that really helps us. It really helps us to keep bringing the content. Maybe put some of your insights and thoughts below. Let me know what you think, some of the pros and cons of each, and what you like to do and how you like to create your music. Leave a comment. Let us know how you like this video, what videos or guitar lessons you'd like to see coming up from us, or gear reviews. Leave that comment. If you like the video, click the like button, give it a thumbs up. We so appreciate it. Some of the pros of going into a studio and doing the recording is, in my opinion, I think it's probably going to sound a little better, and oftentimes a lot better. And here's the reasons why. First off, keep in mind that most people don't realize the amount of audio science that's behind the recording process. Lifetimes of experiences of trial and error, right, have gone into this. And oftentimes in the studio, while you're paying for an engineer, and that is a huge, huge thing. You get another set of ears to listen to this, to work on it, to make suggestions, as opposed to if you're doing it at home. You have another set of ears. You have that engineer with hopefully lots of experience. He knows exactly where to mic the cabinets, or she knows exactly, how to take a little high end off the guitar solo to get it to stand out in the mix a little bit more. They know all the tricks. They've been through it all. And a good experienced engineer is priceless. Remember, your project is only going to sound as good as the people that are working on it. That's the musician on the musician end and the performance end, as well as the recording end and the engineering end. Sound better also because oftentimes in the studio, they have the best equipment, right? They have really expensive microphones that sound awesome that we might not have at home. They might have great sounding gear, big selection of amplifiers and cabinets that we just might not have access to at home. As well as they might have all kinds of other gear, top-notch compressors and things that will really help the creative process. Anything you want to create any sound, right? And oftentimes they have all that in the studio. They built up all this massive amount of gear to be able to take those sounds that you have in your head or in your hands and put them down and record them. The other thing that I think is big in the studio is generally the rooms sound better, right? Because oftentimes the good studios, those rooms are acoustically designed. They might have acoustic panels that are sucking up certain frequencies. The really high-end studios, oftentimes they don't have two walls that are directly facing each other. If you check them out, lots of times the walls are angled or curved. So you don't have those sound waves banging back and forth, right? You don't have that facing each other. Those rooms are acoustically designed to sound their best. They have vocal booths, again, designed to really sound their best. And these are things that we just don't have at home that's going to improve the overall sound quality. And like I said before, having that really good experienced engineer, having that extra set of ears is a big plus to when you go into that pro studio. You'll have someone there with experience who might even be able to make suggestions about song structure, or let you know when you're a little bit, vocally out of tune either way, or a guitar is out of tune, or they might have an idea for a certain song or a certain sound in mind that they might think might fit. And a good engineer will provide all kinds of constructive criticism and positiveness, hopefully positiveness, that might enhance your project, and you won't get that if you're doing it at home alone. Again, you're paying for those years and years and years of experience of that engineer. And if you'd like a free video lesson and an ebook where I diagram out all kinds of cool killer soloing strategies and scale diagrams and all kinds of exercises and killer stuff, just click on that link below and I'll send it to you for free from Next Level Guitar. Free video lesson, free ebook. It'll really help you along your guitar and musical journey. There's some music theory in there and a bunch of other great things. Click on that link, send it to you for free. And besides, the better high-end equipment, the more of it equipment, right? The better sounding rooms and better microphones and the engineer. There's a certain magic, I think, about the studio that's really inspiring and empowering. The good ones have this character, you might even go into a studio where some very famous bands have cut tracks before, and it's kind of in the air, and that, I think, enhances the creative process. It's very special, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you don't agree with that, and that's okay, but I just think every time I set foot in the studio, it's a very special thing, and I really enjoy that specialness to it. And then some of the cons or negatives about a pro studio going in and recording is it's expensive. The good studios are very expensive, so you have to have the budget for it because, like I said before, the meter is running. That's another negative. Like, you have to be on your A game and be able to handle the pressure. You don't have an infinite amount of takes. Okay, because again, it's costing money. Time is money, and in the studio, that clock is running. So you have to really have all your pre-production, have all your parts worked out, have the pre-production done so you could just go in there and bang it out in the quickest amount of time, especially if you're on a budget. I'm not talking about if you have unlimited funds and you're going in there for an unlimited amount of time, but most of us, right? You really have to be on your A game and you have to get it done quickly. It's a lot of pressure. And you have to make tough choices in the studio because oftentimes, like I said, you just can't go take after take. You have to be willing to say, okay, that's good enough, even though, this is forever with what you're recording, but you have to be able to make those tough decisions, right? Some people might find it a bit uncomfortable, right? So you have to be okay with that. And you have to be okay with the prep work that's needed and the pre-production and getting all of that dialed in, equipment-wise and performance-wise, before you even set foot in the studio. So turning to home recording, let's look at some of the pros first. First of all, the biggest one is it's cheaper. Once you make your initial investment, obviously you need some software, right? Some recording software. You have to have a computer, an interface, and monitors. My setup is behind me for home recording, and if you want to learn more about that home recording DAW, digital audio workstation, what you need, I'll put some videos I've done explaining that whole process up here in the cards, so check those out, as well as some videos on how to set it all up and how to get going with your home system. So once you make that initial investment, it's definitely cheaper than going into the pro studio. And once you make the investment, it's a lasting investment, right? Because you'll have that equipment, and learning it is a skill, and that's a good positive, right? That's a plus, because you're going to learn all about the process of recording and miking, and you'll learn all about the process of mixing and mastering, and you'll learn all about the process of these plugins and everything. So having those skills is going to make you much more valuable as a musician. You'll learn so much and have all those skills in your pocket, right? So that's a big plus about doing this at home and learning all this yourself. It's a lot to learn. Like I said, it's a tremendous amount of knowledge necessary in this audio science. Another big plus about recording at home is it's less pressure, right? You could sit there and spend as much time on it as you want. You could sit there and do as many takes as you want to get it right. You can leave it for a couple days, come back to it. It's a lot more comfortable. You don't have to get all your gear ready and transport it and set it up in a studio. Everything's in your home. The comfortability of it, less pressure, that's a big plus. Some of the cons about recording at home, the negatives, is the learning curve is steep. It's a lot to learn. You got to not only learn these recording software programs, but then you got to learn all about the plugins you're going to use. You got to learn all about, how to mix these things to make them sound good, and how to capture these sounds, and mic placements. And I mean, it's a lot besides just the computer end of it, the sound end of it. It's a lot, and it's a steep curve. It's a lasting skill, but it's a lot of work at first. Another con is like when you go into the pro studio and you have an engineer with that second set of ears I talked about. You don't have that at home, right? It might be just you. And the other thing is, I think overall, for the most part, it's generally probably not going to sound as good. Because again, you might not have as expensive mics. And I'm not, as they do in the studio, and I'm not saying you can't get great sounding results at home, because you can, obviously you can. But I think in the studio, generally, it's going to be a little bit higher quality. You just might not have that level of equipment. You might not have that level of knowledge like these engineers who do it full time for their entire life. You might not have the best sounding room, the vocal booth, right? And again, it's not to say that you're not going to get great results. It's just, I think in the studio, it might be like the next level up, in my opinion. So there's the pros and cons of each. And what I do is I use both. And that's what I recommend to most people is, if you can, use both. If you want something really high quality that you're probably going to release to the public, or you want some real high quality demos, or you want just some real high quality recordings, generally I will go into the studio for that. I cannot match at home as far as equipment, as far as experience, as far as that knowledge, what they could do in the studio. And if I have the budget for it, I'll go into the studio. So that's just my opinion. But I also record at home, and I use my home gear for doing a bunch of different things, for making jam tracks for my business. I also use it for making demos that I share with the band. I use it a lot in my creating process, in my songwriting, to capture ideas and then to work them out, and then also to arrange them and record them. And then I make files that I could email, and I send them to the band members. Hey, here's a new original song idea for my original band. Check this out. Do you like it? Let's work on the parts, and then we refine it from there. But it gives everybody the tracks, right? Gives everybody the file so they could work on them on their own. And we get into a rehearsal room, and everyone will have ideas already, and we start, refining it. So I use both. I love my digital audio workstation, my DAW, and the sounds I get. For the recording software, I use Logic X. For a lot of the guitar tones, I use Overloud TH3 now. I used to use TH1 or 2. They have different versions of them. I use Superior Drummer, Easy Drummer to program the drums, right? I use the synth sounds that are in Logic. I have a MIDI keyboard that I trigger the synthesizer sounds, keyboard sounds. So I'm able to do a lot. It's very powerful for the creative process, and that's what I use it more for, or for making things for my business, Next Level Guitar, like jam tracks or tracks for students for educational purposes and things like that, chord progressions, stuff like that. But again, when it comes to when I want something really high quality and really done well and really sounding the best it could, if I have the budget, I go into a professional studio. And the last thing I'd like you to think about is this. If you do decide to go into a pro studio, and I hope that you do, because it's an incredible experience if you've never done it before, and working with the engineers, learning about the process, seeing the gear, going through the whole totality of it, it's really magic, and it's really enlightening. And if you have the budget for it, I urge everyone to at least do it once, right? But I want you to think about this. Do your research when it comes to studios, because here's why. Like I said earlier, your project in the end is only going to be as good as the people working on it. So you want to find out what studio will be best for you. So when you're talking to these studios, you go in and visit them, or check out their website, listen to some of the productions and recordings that they have done, and see how you like them. Have they produced a lot of music in the genre that you're looking for, right? Can they get those sounds, right? Can they capture those? Do they have that equipment, right? Those are some of the questions you want to ask. You want to ask about their engineers. Who will you be working with? That's a critical one. Find out about them and what their experience is. Here's the big question. Do they understand your vision for your music and your project? That is huge. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, I'll put my email address in the YouTube description box. Please remember to subscribe to the channel. That really helps us to keep the content coming. Let us know your feedback and insights, how you like this video, what you'd like to see in coming videos and lessons. Leave a comment below on some of your home recording or studio tips, pros and cons. Thank you so much for your support and for watching our videos. Over the years, we've been doing this a long time, and we so appreciate it, and we want to thank you for all your support. I'm David Taub with Next Level Guitar, right? You're the good people. Through all of this, I want you to remember that your guitar playing and your musical journey is an evolution. I wish you the best of luck. Take care, and keep on rocking.